Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to give folks about 2 more minutes before we go ahead and get started.
Morning, Lane.
Morning. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. We are going to be discussing the bipartisan infrastructure law, weatherization, temporary subgrantee NOFA. Before we get started, as most of you know, we recently have a new assistant vice president. So I want to take a minute and introduce Chris Chimento, and he's going to speak to you all for a second. Chris, take it away.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say I'm really excited to be involved with the weatherization team and welcome to the NOFA Subgrantee Notice Review Meeting. We're excited to hear all your questions and what you have going on. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Okay, great. So before we get started, just a couple things to remember. Please put yourself on mute if you're not speaking. If you're using phone for audio, please tap the phone mute button. Video is encouraged, particularly when you're speaking during the Q&A later on. There will be opportunities for questions and active participation. Jonathan Bieber is going to be running the chat during the presentation, so he will respond to your questions as quickly as he can, but don't worry if it doesn't happen during the presentation. We'll respond afterwards in the Q&A, and anything we don't get to will be posted in the FAQ after the session on the website. In the event of a question or a comment during the FAQ, please use the hand raise function, and moderators will call on session participants. Great. So we're going to do a brief introduction on New York State climate goals, the BIL program in general, funding availability and general requirements for the NOFA, application submission materials, evaluation and selection criteria, required contract materials, and then we'll do the Q&A. So as most of you know, in 2019, New York State passed the CLCPA, and the act tasked the state with developing a Climate Act Council to develop a statewide cross-sector strategy to reach the ambitious climate goals. As part of that, the units that we develop through the BIL program will contribute to the state's 2 million climate-friendly homes goal, and all while pushing electrification and decreasing carbon reduction with a goal of 22 million tons over the next few years. As part of that Climate Act, New York State created disadvantaged communities. This dovetails with the federal legislation, Justice 40, which was designed after the New York State legislation. So the state requires that at least 40% of our investments in this goal go towards disadvantaged communities. So that will be a component of our NOFA. And it's really critical to the work that we all do in the affordable housing space, both for regulated and unregulated properties. So BIL is going to require reporting on these metrics as one of the pieces of being a temporary subgrantee. And at a minimum, the report will include the number of communities that have DAC status that you worked within. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Weatherization Assistance Program, these are some typical weatherization measures that you would find in a standard scope. Maybe not all of these measures at the same time. This is a sampling of what is possible through the program. So for the BIL version of WAP, all the same scope measures apply. So typically we are doing work that covers mechanical measures such as clean tuning, repairing, heating, cooling systems, a lot of insulation work, repairing leaks, programmable thermostats, insulating water heating pipes. In addition to that, building envelope measures, and electric and water measures like efficient lighting, low flow fixtures, more efficient appliances, and health and safety measures to make sure that the units that we're working in overall are a good place to reside before we put in energy efficiency measures. So New York State has been allocated approximately $289 million over the next 4.5 years. And we'll be distributing that through DHCR. The maximum individual temporary subgrantee contract will not exceed $3 million per contract term. Temporary subgrantees will be awarded an initial 18-month contract with a performance-based renewal option through 2027. And as part of that, project measures are going to be required to meet a savings to investment ratio of 1. On the right here is an example of a simple analysis to do a savings to investment ratio calculation for those of you that are potentially new to the weatherization program. So we have a total pot of $40 million funding for temporary subgrantees within the BIL weatherization program. So this funding will be made available to eligible applicants to serve as temporary subgrantees for the purpose of targeting multifamily portfolios that have a significant need for energy assistance. So that includes all different types of affordable housing throughout the state, with a special prioritization for areas that currently have a lower weatherization services rate. So when you're working within the weatherization program, if you're selected as a temporary subgrantee, you will be installing some of the scope items that we looked at previously, up to an average cost per unit of $8,009 per dwelling unit. Program services would be, delivered through yourselves as a temporary subgrantee. And then all laborers and mechanics through this program, employed by contractors and subcontractors, will have to comply with both Davis-Bacon and Buy American provisions on any properties that are multifamily units of 5 and up. So for Davis-Bacon, we are working to provide both technical support in the form of a database and consultant support to help folks navigate compliance and wage determinations. And it will have a similar strategy for Buy American. Davis-Bacon does only apply while workers are physically on site. So you would not have to pay them if they are not on site doing paperwork or some other kind of administrative duty or traveling to the site. They can be paid a non-Davis-Bacon wage at that time. Okay, this is the schedule for temporary subgrantee NOFA. So we issued the NOFA in October. You will have 2 weeks to submit questions after today's workshop bidders conference. This session the recording will be posted on the website in addition to an FAQ. You're also welcome to reach out to myself and my deputy who's on the call as well, Jonathan Bieber, if you have any questions or comments in the meantime. We will then post the answers by December 6th, and the submission deadline is December 8th. Then there will be a team of 8 of us internally here at HCR who are going to work to do the scoring and review of the applications, and we'll be announcing successful applications on January 29th. So that announcement will be posted on our website, and you will also receive an email notification if you have submitted a successful application. So as we mentioned, the average cost per unit, maximum cost per unit that can be used on with weatherization funds is $8,009. In order to make those dollars go a little farther, we certainly do recommend leveraging the BIL weatherization program with other programs. So this is a table with some suggestions for other funding sources that can be paired with BIL temporary subgrantee funds to have a bit of a more robust scope. So CERC, Weatherization Readiness Funds, Keep Home, Climate Friendly Homes Fund, and other HCR programs, NYSERDA programs, and HUD programs would all be excellent opportunities for leveraging. BIL funds cannot be matched with regular program year weatherization funds. Okay, your eligibility to be a temporary subgrantee it's required to be a nonprofit and legally incorporated organization, a community action agency, or a municipality, or the designated representative of an Indian tribal organization. You must be in legal and financial compliance with requirements and regulations, and you must provide a list of your current board of directors or governing body, bylaws, and a few other documents that are spelled out in the NOFA itself. If you are an existing subgrantee within the weatherization program, you must be in good standing to apply for the temporary subgrantee funds. So as a temporary subgrantee, you would be responsible for identifying and verifying the income eligibility of clients, evaluating dwelling units to be weatherized, installing energy saving measures like what we looked at previously, identifying and mitigating related health and safety concerns, supervising a weatherization workforce, maintenance of client program files and compliance documents, and preparation of regular management and fiscal progress reports. So there is administrative funding associated with the temporary subgrantee dollars. There will be 7.5% of administrative funding available. This funding can be used to cover costs that are necessary for the organization to operate. Any contracts awarded under this procurement are eligible to receive advance payments up to 15% of the total allocation of their contract. Okay, for the contract locations, we will be looking to award a maximum of 2 temporary subgrantees per county and 3 per region. Temporary subgrantees may work in more than one county with a preference for adjacent counties. There is prioritization, again, for areas that have current low rates of weatherization and for DAC communities. We are also really looking for folks to use these dollars to enhance our targeted building portfolios. That portfolio includes low-income housing tax credit projects, USDA 515 projects, supportive housing, HUD projects, public housing properties, Mitchell-Lama properties, and properties within First Nations and tribal lands, and properties within a disadvantaged community census tract. So in the NOFA release on the website, this is attachment D, which is New York HCR's assets statewide. So the dots you see are different targeted housing portfolio properties. And then the green shading illustrates the amount of weatherized properties in that county from 2007 to today. So you can see that certain areas of the state have received less weatherization services than other areas of the state. With an eye towards like equity and making sure that we're serving the entire state in a similar manner, those light green areas will be receiving prioritization within the scoring on the NOFA. When folks are choosing populations to work with and properties, the property has to meet our income eligibility criteria. So the eligibility for the program is set at 60% of the state's median income. That's listed here. These are recently updated numbers for 23-24. As a temporary subgrantee, prior to selecting a scope for a property, we require folks to do an energy audit. Currently, TIPS is the audit tool being used for single-family small buildings and buildings with up to 25 units, if each unit is individually heated. Equip and Treat are the audit tools that we use for multifamily projects. All fuel switching projects must be modeled with an appropriate audit tool and submitted to DOE. However, we are not currently permitting fuel switching and conversion of heating systems wouldn't be a current permissible scope of work. So applicants responding to the NOFA agree to complete proposed work in accordance with the applicable program rules and regulations. Expenditures and unit production that are proposed need to be included in your Exhibit 2 production schedule with your application. Oh, and forgive us, that's a typo. They must be met within 18 months of the contract start date. And you can review regulations in the Policies and Procedures Manual. For your application submission, which is due again on December 8th, applicants should submit proposals to DHCR by email and include the items mentioned in the listing. We are going to be posting some revised forms for the application on the website prior to November 30th. Other required materials may also be attached to an electronic email message. You would want to email your application to the Weatherization mailbox listed here. If you can also mail a hard copy to our Hampton Plaza office listed below. And if you are doing hard copy, you need to submit 5 different copies of all materials. Okay. Evaluation and scoring criteria. Your statement of approach is going to be 40 points of the application. Your statement of organizational experience and key personnel is worth 20 points. Qualifications and quality assurance, financial and information technology capacity is 15 points. And the reasonableness of proposed scope and budget and leveraging suggestions are going to be worth 25 points. So this is a list of all the required exhibits in your application. Again, the only things that will be unique in this NOFA will be how you describe your statement of approach, and also how you address, your budgeting and leveraging plan. Okay, we're going to go into Q&A. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, this is Rudy Separiti with IBTS. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Rudy.
is this open forum? I can just ask a question?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Perfect. For this solicitation, is third-party verification and inspection intended to be responded to, or would there be potentially additional solicitation for quality assurance or inspection? Or I guess finally, is that intended to be part of the team responding to this FOA, or excuse me, NOFA or opportunity?
Yeah, so I mean, you should include in your NOFA what the team's capability is to do QCI and how that would be addressed. However, that is something that could be addressed through subcontracting, right? So it doesn't need to be a particularly detailed plan if it's not something that your agency does currently. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I guess as a follow-up, is there a location maybe on the DHCR website where interested parties to provide services may present themselves to other team members or subgrantees that may be applying?
We do not have a forum for people to kind of make teams. You would, have to kind of network on your own outside of this forum. Um, yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
That's sufficient. Yeah, that's sufficient. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. Additional questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, Len, how are you?
Hi, Francis.
Francis Rodriguez, AEA. Section 1.10, population to be served. The last sentence on the page 4, it says that in rental property projects, 50% of the dwelling units must be occupied by eligible household. Are we saying that we can do the building with 50% eligibility? If you look at page 4 of the document, section 1.10, the last
Buildings
sentence
have to be 60% income eligible. So I'd have to take a look at the exact sentence from page 4. If there's an error on it,
Okay.
I can certainly double check that. But the program rules are that a building has to be 60% income eligible.
Or 66%.
66%, yes.
All right, all right.
Keith?
Hi, I'm assuming that you're encouraging local hiring and training as part of the NOFA for weatherization workers. If we're a temporary subgrantee, are we to base like equipment leases and procurement of the necessary equipment to perform the services around an 18-month lease structure?
So as if you're selected as a temporary subgrantee, so long that 18-month contract is a performance-based renewable contract through June of 2027. So long as you are meeting your production unit goals, then that contract would be renewed. So I think it's kind of up to you internally to determine how to structure your lease structure. We don't have regulations regarding that.
Okay. It's tricky. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, this is Matt Holden. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Matt.
Hi. Hey, if the building is electric heat right now, are air source heat pumps eligible as a measure?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Keith,
one more
follow-up question?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're going to be posting all of the attachment forms on the website and the exhibits?
Yes, yeah, we will have updated forms on the website by November 30th.
Yeah.
But I should also be clear that not everything is a form, right? There's an application form, but the majority of the elements required for the NOFA application are just going to be documents that you create and submit.
So the list of exhibits that you showed, you don't necessarily have a form for them that you want to see?
Correct. Yeah, there's not a form for every one of those exhibits. So like your statement of approach is not a form.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Last round, most of the stuff in section 4 was like you had a specific attachment or exhibit, like a
Yes,
formal
so
document.
there will be a
you wanted to see.
handful of updated forms, but I just want to be clear that not everything in the
Yeah.
application package is form-based.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, we also have a question in the chat. Fran Fusilli is asking, will regular subgrantees have a list of temporary subgrantees projects if they are operating in the same service area? Yes, we can share pipeline with one another once that is developed, Fran. As far as the 15-year question, we will work with temporary subgrantees to provide, a list of the properties that have been weatherized since 2008 that would be ineligible to receive these services. And certainly whichever temporary subgrantees are selected, if that is different than the existing subgrantee in the county, that subgrantee will be notified, and we'll have coordinated call between those parties to be sure that everyone is just aware of one another's pipelines and can be working together going forward so that there's no confusion in the region. Peggy Gans has a question about short production schedule and the volume of projects. How will treat audit approval be expedited? We don't currently have a system to expedite audits. We do think they're very valuable and essential resource. So they're going to stay within the program. Our training and technical assistance unit is currently evaluating the possibility of implementing priority list measures. That's still very much in the exploratory phase. So we don't have a timeline for that, Peggy, and we will not be permitting self-auditing for this program. That's it. Do we have any additional questions? Okay. Well, great. If anyone has any questions they don't want to ask in the public forum, once again, you can reach out to myself or my colleague, Jonathan. We will be posting a recording of this presentation on the website. And we will also be posting an FAQ on the website. Those will both be up before the end of the week. And then we will also send out a notification when we launch the revised forms prior to November 30th. I look forward to reading all of your applications by December 8th, and please reach out if you have any additional questions. Okay, thank you everyone. Take care.